This episode of the Smoke Pit brought to you by the Nut Ruck by Arbor Arms.
The tactical fanny pack for your nuts and your butts.
Check it out at arborarms.com. Tell them the Smoke Pit sent you. Welcome to the Smoke Pit.
What up, now?
Back again for another fantastic episode. My name is Dan Sharp. I am your host, joined by my co-host, Alexander Pfeffer.
Rah.
Mike Sensi is taking the week off, so you're stuck with us two this week.
Yep, Mike decided he needed some me time.
Yep.
With himself and a bottle of tequila.
Well, we don't blame him. But we decided to make this episode a little bit different. We're going to talk about some interesting things that have popped up in the news recently, like using rubber bullets to enforce social distancing.
Now, that was in South Africa, I believe, right?
Yeah. We'll get to that. We also have a near 100-year-old British veteran who raised like $20 million for health workers in the UK.
Lots of good feel-good stories here. I like it.
Yeah, and also a shop in Hong Kong is selling tear gas-flavored ice cream.
I believe that is the traditional Chinese way of telling your Chinese oppressors to go fuck themselves.
So we got a great episode for you, folks. All right, so first and foremost, we want to thank Combat Comb Over for being a great sponsor of the show. You can use our discount code CREAMPIE to save yourself some money at combatcombover.com. Fantastic pomades and beard oils for your hair and your face.
Yeah, I'm using some right now because what with the not getting a haircut in a couple of months, it's starting to get a little gross up in here. I'm looking like budget Wolverine.
So for those on our YouTube, yeah, please excuse our poor state of groom. We don't usually look like this, but I would dare to say that the people having rubber bullets shot at them in South Africa are feeling a bit more worse for wear than we are right now.
Now, admittedly, if they're following the social distancing protocols, they're not getting shot with rubber bullets.
Well, it's kind of hard to say exactly what's what down there because we only have several reports of what seem to be some isolated instances back at the end of March. But basically, South Africa was telling people just to stay home, but then people were out at shops and grocery stores trying to get provisions, and the local authorities started firing. We weren't sure the exact ammo because nobody went and picked up the cartridge and examined it to see what the lot and Dodik was. So we don't know if it was rubber BBs or if it was beanbag rounds, but we do know that non-lethal munitions, or less than lethal, rather.
Less than lethal munitions.
Yeah, I saw your eyes perk up real quick, and I was like, fuck.
Anything's lethal if you shoot it in the right place.
Yeah, no shit. You imagine taking a fucking beanbag to the temple at, like 4 inches away?
No, but I can imagine getting shot in the gut with a beanbag from about 10 feet away.
Ouch. What situation were you in that happened?
I was in Habanilla in 2007, and my armorer was surprised when I walked into the armory, and I was like, hey, man, what are you doing? And he switched around, and he shot me in the gut with a freaking beanbag round.
Okay, so this wasn't why you were looting during Katrina, then?
I was overseas fighting terrorizers during Katrina.
And that's our story, and we're sticking to it.
I can prove it. I have documentation.
I can prove it empirically.
I can prove it empirically. That is correct.
So there's actually pictures of this, too. You have a very portly-looking police officer, and he's got his shotgun, like, his elbow is, like, way the fuck up above his right ear. It's not in his shoulder whatsoever. You could actually see the back of the buttstock. And he's pointing it, like, 4 feet away from people who are standing in grocery lines who just look absolutely fucking terrified.
If they were truly terrified, they'd get 6 feet fucking away from each other. Like, okay, I'm going to say something controversial, as I am one to do.
As you are one to do.
I'm not advocating for shooting civilians for no reason, but I think that social distancing is a good idea.
Yes.
Right? So when I go to Walmart, and Walmart's full of mutants, and they're conglomerating all in the same aisle, which they entered in the wrong direction, and they're just standing there sweating on things.
Yeah.
If someone just walked by with a Remington M870 and was like, you can step the fuck away from each other and from the other patrons, or you can get a rubber bullet to the chest, they'd be like, you can't do that to me. It's America. Clack.
Okay, so are we talking about like Fallout, New Vegas mutants? Or are we talking about like hot rogue X-Men mutant with the red hair and the white stripe and the painted on catsuit?
Absolutely not the second one. If Walmart was full of rogue duplicates,
Yes.
like I would not mind going shopping.
You are full of shit, sir. And you don't want to know why?
Here we
Because
go.
the moment she opened her mouth with that fake Cajun accent, you would instantly be turned off.
That's fair. I can't do fake accents.
I remember when True Blood was all the rage. I was like, hey, bro, did you watch the show? And 30 minutes later, he took his first breath.
Let me tell you, I know acting is hard. And I know that doing a convincing accent that you are not accustomed to is difficult.
Yes.
Like, I can do several, and it took me a while to learn the ins and out. Like, I'm trying to learn how to do Scottish correctly, not the way that drunk white people in, like, suburban areas of America try to do Scottish.
Yes.
To, like, learn the actual no-shit Highland accent.
Okay, would you like to hear my Scottish accent? Red October standing by.
Abominable.
Was that not spot on, Sean Connery, who is from Scotland?
Ish. Do you know what time Sean Connery goes to tennis? Or I fucked it up. There's a joke. It's like, what time does Sean Connery show up at Wimbledon?
Yeah.
About 10-ish.
50 no's and 1 yes still means yes. Was that better?
That was a little better. I like that one. But so you see these people doing accents, and some people nail it, and some people it's so bad. We watched Knives Out,
Yeah.
and Daniel Craig is in it, the guy who's been playing James Bond for the last couple of years.
Absolute sex pot.
Absolute sex pot, but he's got this like southern accent that's so bad, and it sounds like Foghorn Leghorn. Like he's like, I say, boy, and you're like, no. Like from the moment it came out of his mouth, I was like, no, this is wrong. Everything about this is wrong.
He started levitating like he was the last airbender in the Avatar state. And I was like, bro, just calm down. Like, I promise nobody thinks this is what your people sound like.
I will say, to their credit, they made lots of, like, they got Chris, that wasn't Chris Pine, that was Chris
Hemsworth?
Evans.
Evans, yeah, Captain America.
Right. They got Chris Evans to, like, make a couple cracks at him, and one of them was a Foghorn Leghorn joke. And I was
Yeah.
like, all right, well, if somebody acknowledged it, like, that brings my rage level down to a simmer.
Yeah, it's a bit meta at that point. So I will give you some chance to mentally prepare. Would you mind demonstrating for us what an authentic, born and raised near New Orleans accent sounds like? And while you do that, I'm going to have more of this pina colada.
I don't know if I can do that just off the bat. Like, that's one of those things. I got to talk to my dad. Like, the trick to that is I call my dad.
Yeah.
He talks to me for like a minute or two, says some dumb shit to me about, where you been doing? What you got going on? That's not his accent. I'm just saying, to distinguish it.
I say, young man, what have you been doing?
I'm not from rural Georgia. Like, no. The weird thing about it is people from New Orleans have this kind of, either they have this, we refer to them as yats.
Yats, what's that mean?
Like, where you at? Right?
Okay.
So my dad has
we call those about fitting two down in Florida.
My dad's accent is a weird combination of what sounds like Bostonian, right? Because he doesn't say Star Trek, he says Star Trek, right? I'm gonna go watch Star Trek. Yeah, all right, Dad. You're gonna go stare at Jerry Ryan in her bodysuit. Let's not conflate watching Jerry Ryan with watching Star Trek.
Okay, now say Walmart was full of Jerry Ryan in her prime, in her catsuit. Now are you dealing with the mutants?
Unquestionably.
Folks, you heard it here.
Let me tell you, here they brought her back for Picard, which
Yeah.
I'm super about.
It was a good show, yeah. If you haven't seen it, check it out.
And they took her out of the catsuit and they put her in regular people clothes. And there was, I'm not going to get too much in the weeds on this, but there was a lot of disgruntledness between Kate Mulgrew, who played Captain Janeway,
Yeah.
and Jerry Ryan, who played Seven of Nine, because Kate Mulgrew kind of took it out on Jerry Ryan about the fact that like their ratings were kind of going down a little bit, so they brought in a hot girl in a catsuit, and she was like, "This is disgusting. We shouldn't be doing this." And years after the fact, Kate Mulgrew was like, "Nah, it wasn't Jerry Ryan's fault. Like, she played it really well, and I shouldn't have been kind of a bitch about it." So,
Okay.
I give Kate Mulgrew is a fantastic actress. I give her that. But yeah, like I like they brought her back. They made her a more relatable, like rougher adult person that's like got her some shit under her belt and doesn't wear catsuits anymore. Because I think we could all agree, some people would look delicious in catsuits, but that's not some shit you just wear daily. Like, that's not
Just hanging out?
yeah, like she just come to work in her catsuit with her comm badge on her shirt, and you're like, Like they even try to make an excuse as to why she was wearing it. I don't remember what it was, but I remember that she was in sick bay, and the doctor was like, "Yeah, we replicated this suit for you because it closely resembles whatever stupid shit gets us to put you in a cat suit for no reason."
Now, here's my question: if you have the opportunity, say you could have a scientist like clone one of those. What was her name again?
What, Jerry Ryan?
Yeah, they can clone Jerry Ryan, right? And then they offer you a second one. Do you take it?
A second Jerry Ryan?
Yes. TikTok, right. Mr. Pfeffer.
So here's the thing. I had a conversation recently about cloning a dog.
Yes or no? Would you take it?
I don't know. That's why I'm trying to answer the question.
Yeah.
Right? Because it's not just a yes or no question. There's nuance. You could clone the body.
Yes.
But what about the brain?
Let's just say, for the sake of argument, intact.
So the brain's 100%, 7 of 9. Tertiary adjunct to Unimatrix 0.
Sure, why not?
Then I would take, yes, I would take a second one.
What about a third?
I would not take a second one. I would keep the first one because I imagine that being a Borg, she's going to be enough trouble to deal with. Right? And I mean that in a positive way. She would challenge you. Like you'd be like, yeah, look how smart and wonderful and charming I am. And she'd be like, I got no time for your bullshit, and I have the combined intelligence of like 1,000 assimilated races. And I'd be like, well, damn it. Now I have to read more. Son of a bitch.
But shouldn't you be reading more to begin with? One cannot just simply rest on their laurels, right?
I don't rest on shit.
Okay.
I am tired all the time. Eat a dick. I am tired all the time from trying to come up with more laurels to rest on. I have a pile of laurels in the back of my room, and it's never comfortable enough.
Speaking of laurels, we will give props to an older gentleman, Tom Moore. He is recently, I think he just turned 100 years old, and for his 100th birthday, he was trying to walk 100 laps around his garden, which was 25 meters, around 82 feet long. I think that math checks out. And he was trying to raise money, and his family was like, oh, we would be proud of him if you raise, 1,000 pounds sterling, which is what the UK calls dollars because they don't use euro anymore. And did they ever use euro?
I think they used both.
Yeah, for like maybe a brief point of time, they at least accepted it.
Oh, they always accepted euro because remember, like when we went in 2014, we could use euro everywhere. But if you got pound sterling, you had to use it in the UK. Yeah,
and then so fucking blew the absolute lid off of it. Veterans, celebrities, civilians alike, some supporters just blew it out of the fucking water. And they got, last I looked, and I might be wrong, don't hold this against me, was over 20 million US that he raised, which was fucking amazing for British health workers, British healthcare workers.
Bro, I'd spend a lot more time walking circles in the backyard if I could raise that kind of money. But I mean, good on him because he's over 100 years old, and he's like, this is going to take me a week, but I'm going to walk around this garden.
Yeah, he was trying to time the 100th lap to line up with his 100th birthday. And the real interesting thing about him is that when he served in World War II, he actually fought on the historical coast region of the Arkan, which not a lot of people know about the other battles. Like, if you don't know, like, Iwo Jima or Battle of the Bulge, people don't realize, like, how many other fucking shitty dirt holes that Allied forces fought and died on. So, like, if you get a chance to look into the Miramar conflicts, please do. It's definitely an interesting read.
I would say that if it's not in a movie, then you should go check it out. And I'm not crapping on movies. I'm just saying we kind of dig in the bottom of the well on World War II epics.
Yeah.
Like, Dunkirk was a good movie, but if you sat there and listened to that like ticking clock in the back, wasn't it Chris Nolan that did that?
Oh, I don't know.
Anyway, there's like part of the soundtrack is there's like this ticking clock in the background that's supposed to give you like a sense of anxiety.
Yeah.
To like make you think about make you feel the anxiety of the people in there.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
when I leave the goddamn metronome on accident whenever we start episodes, and it's like tick. Talk.
Yeah, and I'm like, thanks, buddy. And then I start thinking about Dunkirk and all those planes flying overhead, and I have flashbacks from my Welsh fucking ancestors.
I mean, I get anxiety over it. Like my knees get weak, my palms get sweaty.
Don't.
So beyond that,
because your mom makes empanadas, not spaghetti.
Oh my God.
Does she not?
No, she does not. She makes arroz con pollo y frijoles.
I like that you looked at me like an asshole for saying empanadas,
yeah,
and then you said something way more Spanish.
So moving on to some of our other allied countries, Canada bans all assault-style firearms. What the fuck?
It's Canada, bro. They've got us.
No, but as for like, and then they did it in the most Canadian way possible, where they're like, all right, hey, just so you know, all this shit is illegal now, but we're going to give you, 2 or so years to comply with everything before we start enforcing the laws.
I mean, that's fair. You can't just, if the United States for some reason abolished guns, right? You can't expect everybody to turn their shit in all at once.
Oh, most certainly you would not expect people to turn their guns in. Back to the beanbag point, like imagine if they were like, hey, you social distancing is a thing, and then you were in some like real southern state like Florida, and
I don't consider Florida a southern state.
Well, Larry the Cable Guy was from like an hour north of where I lived.
You mean Daniel Whitney?
Yes, but his personality, which most people know, because you say all these actors, like our followers are supposed to know who all these actors are.
First of all, if you know anything about Star Trek recently, you know who Jerry Ryan is.
Okay, so that's 10% of our audience.
Okay, and then Larry the Cable Guy, a.k.a. Daniel Whitney.
Yes.
A, was never a cable guy, and B,
made millions of dollars off an accent. Well done, Daniel. Well done.
You're right. Daniel Whitney went out there and he popularized being a sweaty dumbass.
And he is now living it up with all his hooers and cocaine.
Yeah, he's probably going broke and he's going to need to do another tour soon.
I wouldn't blame him, though. But legitimately, if they come out with a cure and Larry the Cable Guy is playing up the road, I'd shell out the $20 to go see him. But yeah, so a Florida State situation where we're standing in line and the cops come out and start shooting fucking beanbag rounds at us for being in line at the grocery store. You don't think Americans are going to have a problem with that?
If they were 6 feet apart, they wouldn't get shot because you said it was a social distancing measure.
No. I'm sorry. If I did say that, I apologize. I don't know if I did, but the thing is that it was a stay-at-home order.
Oh, I mean, if it's a stay-at-home order in which you can't even go to the grocery store.
Their rules, not mine.
Okay. No, I'm just trying to make sure if we're going to have a hypothetical that I understand
yes.
the rules. Okay, so if there's a stay-at-home order and you're not allowed to go anywhere, first of all, nobody in Florida would have to leave their house. They just wait for the random gator to come pass by their backyard, and they have food for a couple days.
Yeah, but eventually you're going to run out of seasoning, and we're not just going to eat raw gator. That shit's terrible. You need to get some adobo for it.
Bro, you're telling me that, well, you could just get online and you could order some Grill Your Ass Off seasoning and they could deliver it to your house. You'd never have to leave.
With the discount code SmokePit to save yourself some money on this fantastic season. Are you tired of being white and being accused of not seasoning your gator? I know I am.
It's so goddamn ridiculous.
But so point being, though, is they say, okay, nobody's supposed to go out, and everybody's like, well, fuck, I ran out of shit tickets, I ran out of, dildo lube or whatever the case is, and you're at the grocers, standing in line, and cops show up, and they start shooting beanbag rounds at you. What do you think Americans are going to do?
I think a lot of 3%ers are going to put on their extra medium body armor, and they're going to go to their state capitol and wave their guns around and complain a lot, but they're not going to go like armed resistance against the cops.
You don't think that in that moment somebody wouldn't actually fire a real weapon back, though?
I think it's possible, but it would depend on a lot of external factors that I don't want to get on the show because I don't want to get lynched.
Well, so here's the idea. If you're just standing in line and they start shooting these munitions at you, I know that you're supposed to say, like you're supposed to indicate your intent. If you're a police officer, you're like, if you do not comply, I will be forced to use less than lethal munitions or a taser or whatever the case is. But say you don't hear that. Say you're not paying attention and you just look over and you just see a police officer fire a projectile at you. The person next to you goes, ugh, and drops. Like,
I mean, if it's just out of nowhere, I'm gonna turn and identify the threat.
Yeah.
And if the threat is law enforcement, I'm gonna seek cover, right? Because you might shoot back, you might seek cover. I would seek cover first, right?
Because that is such a terrifying thing to think about. Because like we both are supporters of the Second Amendment, with the idea that we don't want mass shootings, right? But we also don't like the idea of somebody telling us we can't have guns.
Well, Here's the thing with that too. First, and I've said this many times in the show. I'll say it again. I don't need the Second Amendment. I have the Ninth Amendment. The Ninth Amendment says I can have my guns.
We've been all this, but
Right.
The point being though is that as someone who carries a gun, what if there's an active shooter and you pull out your gun thinking you're going to defend your life and the life of everyone around you? Then a police officer hearing gunshot comes around the corners, sees you standing there with a gun, and thinks you're the bad guy. Like, how the fuck do you get out of that situation? Like, what are you supposed to do in that situation?
Well, there's two things. One, I already, not at the moment because I haven't had a haircut and my beard is getting a little thick.
Yeah.
But I already have the unfortunate nature of looking like a cop.
Yeah.
So he'd probably come around the corner, see how I was holding my weapon, see my gun belt, and go,
See the flag on the sleeve of your shirt?
right. And he'd pause for a moment, and I would call out just pretty much any random three letters. Like I used to when I was working one of my previous jobs. They never told us to do this, but whenever we do active shooter drill, I'd bust a door in and I go, RSOERT, get on the ground. You don't have to know what those letters mean. You just know that someone with authority just busted in, identified themselves, and told you to get the fuck down. The majority of Americans are going to get the fuck down, right? Because do you think you're going to take on like 15 cops? I mean, even me, right? I've had a lot of training in firearms and tactics over the years. I could probably do a pretty good job of defending myself, but there's a point where you got to say enough is too much, and I'm going to get whacked. Like, you got to identify yourself and ask what the fuck's going on.
But that is if you're fortunate enough to see the police officer and be like, whoa, hey, same side, before they pull the trigger. What if you're not facing, or what if they just come around the corner and, they fired that quick hammer pair?
If I don't have the time to identify myself, or he doesn't have the time to identify himself, then I'm probably going to get whacked either way.
Yeah, and that's
I'm
a
gonna
scary thing,
Yeah, either I'm going to shoot him, he's going to go down, and then the next one's going to take me out, or it's going to be a fucking bloodbath.
Yeah, so we even ran this by Tim Kennedy when he was on the show, and he didn't have a fast answer for us. He said that he does address this in some of the courses that he teaches, but I don't think there's a good answer for this. And if any of our listeners have ever been in that situation, I would love to get a message from them to see how it went.
We've run some active shooter drills, simulating civilian environments.
Mm-hmm.
And even there was a thing they gave us. It's like a little pouch that you can put on your belt, and you basically unsnap the pouch and pull this elastic doodad, and you can put it over your shoulder, and it's a lanyard, right? It's high vis, and it'll say police or law enforcement or concealed carry, whatever stupid thing you want to put on there. But bad guys are not typically going to be road guard vested. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but neither are we, though. I mean, I've been carrying a gun for nearly a decade, and I've never wore a lanyard that says "not a bad guy."
Get one.
But you're telling me that that's the best solution for this?
I'm not saying that. I'm saying that there is no best solution for a situation in which American law enforcement are told to open fire on civilians without identifying themselves. That is a fucking nightmare scenario of people are going to get fucking whacked.
Well, the thing is, though, is like, and we're not painting law enforcement as the bad guy. Obviously, they they have a very tough job, and it's hard to make those lifetime decisions in split seconds. But I'm just saying, if you're a rookie cop, or maybe you're one who's seen your partner go down, and so you're, a little bit more aware of what bullets can actually do to a human body, and you come around a corner after hearing gunshots, and you see somebody standing there with a gun, like 9 times out of 10, I don't see them asking, like, hey, are you a bad guy, before they, say drop the gun, and then, and then even if you do comply in that situation, it's like, well, now fuck, you're taking a law enforcement agent who might be, able to, defeat the threat or keep people alive, and now they're fucking cuffing you, And now you're a fucking stationary target for whoever this fucking crazy shooter is.
Yeah, and that's one of the things we talked about is, you're trying to assist law enforcement, but you can't do the Dan Bilzerian thing where you just, hey, give me a gun. Who the fuck are you? Like, oh, check out my Insta? Like, what the fuck are you supposed to do in that situation?
I don't know. If I was a police officer and Dan Bilzerian came up to me and was like, hey, give me your gun, I might give him my ankle gun and be like, hey, take me on your boat afterwards.
Because you know who Dan Bilzerian is. You think a bunch of cops that have been working in Las Vegas for like the last 20 years, you think just some random sergeant's going to be out there dealing with a mass shooting situation where hundreds of people are getting shot? He's going to be like, oh, Dan Bilzerian, I definitely know you. There's no legal liability for me at all if I hand you a firearm and let you just go buck wild.
I'm just saying that if I knew who Dan Bilzerian was, I would totes give him a firearm and then afterwards be like, yo, man, smoke me out, because that shit was stressful. You know what else is stressful?
I would imagine getting tear gassed.
Yes. Fucking protesters in Hong Kong were getting canisters after canisters of tear gas chucked at them. Quick little backstory on this. If you don't know too much about Hong Kong, I wrote an article about this for American Grit. They're the third richest city in the world. They have over 263 islands with territorial waters, 9th largest importer, 10th largest exporter. They have over 355 skyscrapers, beating New York by around 75. The 10th highest GDP PPP per capita, tied with the U.S., and they were under British rule for a little over 100 years, minus that little sliver where Japan came in and they're like, meh.
Yeah, you'll notice they're the best run, most economically stable part of the Chinese mainland, and they were run by the Brits for a while.
They have their own system of government, separate from the mainland. They call it one country, two governments, or two governments, one country, whatever the case may be. They have their own economic system and currency. So a lot of people in Hong Kong were pissed when mainland introduced this bill that would make them subject to possible extradition to mainland to face charges.
Well, I mean, think if you lived in Florida, right, and they passed a bill that said that you'd immediately get extradited to, like, you know what, I'm going to back off of that one because that's going to go in a dark place. But let's say you have, like, the Union and the Confederacy, right? That's been gone long enough to where nobody can reasonably get butthurt and have me care.
Well, I think it'd be more like a U.S. territory, you know?
I mean, yeah, okay, let's use Guam. That's
Yeah.
a good one. So you're in Guam, and the United States government passes a law that says that they can extradite you to the United States to stand punishment. And this is the important part, for crimes tried in absentia.
Mm-hmm.
So they can say, the U.S. government can say, we don't like the fact that you don't like the government, so we have passed this law that says we can extradite you to U.S. soil so that we can punish you for it.
Yeah, and to which Hong Kong said not no, but fuck no.
They said, so we have gotten you something, China, as a counteroffer.
Yeah.
And it is this Tom Tucker and this Jack Johnson.
Yes.
These two monos, which we have bought for you, and you may have them whenever you wish.
They're free if you would like more.
Yeah. You know,
Some of
those fill this whole room full of uppercut.
And so they started protesting. Pro-democracy movements were met by pro-Beijing government movements. Then the cops came in and started cracking down on the pro-democracy movements, just throwing tear gas canister and beating people and arresting people and all kinds of shit. And so a lot of that shit has kind of gone by the wayside because of recent events. But a ice cream shop in Hong Kong wanted to show their solidarity for the cause. And they started selling ice cream that was flavored like tear gas.
That is a solid and capitalist way of telling someone to get fucked. Like, oh, you tear gassing us? Guess what? We eat this shit as a dessert.
Yeah, and the I don't remember off the top of my head. Do you remember what the main ingredient was?
I believe it's peppercorns.
Yes, that's right. Thank you. The main ingredient was peppercorn, and the shop owner wanted to remain anonymous, and he
Of course he didn't want to get extradited. Stupid.
But a customer who went on the record said that she had been tear gassed in several protests, and the ice cream reminded her of that sensation.
She was like, I wanted to remember what it felt like to fight for democracy.
Yeah. So they're going through that pretty heavy right now, and I think that's funny that they have not lost their sense of humor.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, one of the key ingredients to dealing with trauma and dealing with, like, COVID, right? Like, everybody's been inside for, I think we're going on week 37 by now.
12,000,007.
Yeah, we've been at this COVID shit for a while now, and the people that seem to be handling it the best are the people who have a sense of humor about it. Oh, side note, since we're talking about COVID and stress and dealing with that crap,
Yeah.
a friend of mine told me the other day that a lot of vets are seeing an increased number of dog injuries, right?
Oh, wow.
Because dogs...
Veterinarians.
Right. I'm sorry, yes. But given our audience, that should have been something I should have clarified. Veterinarians are dealing with a larger number of dog injuries that are self-inflicted or inflicted by other dogs.
Oh, wow.
Because with everybody being inside, the theory is that everybody being inside all this time and being stressed the fuck out so much is the dogs pick up on that, right?
Okay.
Because dogs clearly pick up on your personality and your attitudes. And so they see it, they sense the owner's getting stressed out, so they get stressed out, and then they start fighting with each other, and it gets worse than the usual. Put the hose on them and it's fine.
Yeah.
So it's important to maintain a sense of humor.
Man, that really fucking pisses me off because, I think we all kind of have that John Wick tendency that if, a dog's getting hurt, that you're more likely to go off.
I don't currently even own a dog, and if someone hurt a dog that I knew or a dog that I reasonably knew, if it was a dog, I see someone hitting a dog, that dude's getting choked out. I don't give a fuck. Because the dog doesn't do anything, right? It's just chilling there being a dog, and you're smacking it for no reason. Fuck you, dude.
Yeah, that's definitely a good point. It's got to be rough for those dogs that are super high energy, and they're all cooped up now.
Well, I mean, I don't know about all the state's restrictions, but for the most part, in Virginia, you can still go for a walk.
Yeah.
So I would imagine in that situation, dogs should be getting more walks rather than less. And if they're not, what the fuck are you doing with yourself?
Correct yourself.
That's it.
Okay, so we have been toying with the idea of potentially launching a second podcast outside of the Smoke Pit.
We've been potentially talking about launching several shows because thanks to you guys that listen to us on a regular basis, we've done pretty well for ourselves as far as, getting the audience, getting the word out, right?
The exposure, yeah.
Right, getting the exposure. Thank you. I don't do the social media stuff so much, so exposure is not a word I'm used to using in non-legal context.
Then what have you been doing at the old folks' home every Friday that I have to slip the sheriff a bottle of whiskey to get you out of?
I said not in a legal context, Daniel. Be that as it may.
Indecent exposure.
Correct. So I feel like we should start branching out. I know you guys, everybody, those of you listening, love the show, and we love you for it.
Yes.
And that's why we try to make sure we produce as much content as we can.
Yes, we love you so much that you could actually use this as an audio coupon to get one free nude picture from Mike Sensi at Mike Sensi Official on Instagram.
That's right. And that's not catfishing,
mm-hmm.
right? Because it's going to be actually Mike Sensi.
Yes.
And he agreed to this in absentia.
Yes. And
we agreed to this for him in absentia.
Proxy, by virtue of thereunto pertaining to some legal mumbo jumbo.
Special power of attorney.
Yes, he was very drunk and signed a special power of attorney while though being of clear and sound mind.
He was clear and sound enough to where I didn't have to hold his hand while he signed it.
Yeah, because I think that's funny because they're like, oh, you're too drunk to drive, but yet they still charge you because the idea that you were still lucid enough that you made the conscious decision to drink and drive. And so I think that kind of really speaks to the fact that despite being drunk is not an excuse to be an asshole.
That is correct.
If you can still get charged for a DUI despite being drunk and not in control of your faculties or whatever, you are still accountable for your actions. So if you're one of those guys that it's oh, I'm just so random and quirky, I just punch walls when I'm drunk, or I just get mad, or I just have a temper, you got to deal with it if you love me. No, bullshit, fuck you.
Yeah, no thanks, Kyle. I can't tell you how many people I have not punched when I was drunk.
So we're not going to get too much into it, so just hear us out. We don't get very political on this show, and I know a lot of you have written in saying that you appreciate that because you hear it otherwise. And so in that spirit, we want to start a show about politics, but keep it apolitical. So here's the deal, right?
Right. So it's not just about politics.
Yes, so hear us out. Don't turn the episode off.
Right. We're gonna do a couple of test shows, put it out there, see what you guys think, right? And the show is basically going to be a debate program, but in order to make it fair and interesting, we're going to come up with a topic, right? Say
Electoral college.
There you go. Do you think we should abolish the Electoral College,
or do you think it should remain intact?
Correct. And the two participants, which will be one of the people from the show and a guest, or we'll debate each other, however this works out.
Yes. Well, I'll bait you good.
Yes. The for or against is going to be decided by coin toss.
Coin toss. So our personal emotions and feelings will not be a factor. It is a beautiful scientific experience to see if the political system can work based purely on merit and virtue alone.
That's it. We're not going to use any kind of anecdotal evidence to support anything. Emotional arguments are going to be irrelevant. We're going to do fact-based information. We're going to try to keep it light and funny because we know you guys don't want to listen to a bunch of MSNBC nonsense. But that's what we're planning on doing. We're gonna flip a coin, decide who gets pro and con. Everybody gets 30 minutes to sit down and Google if they don't know the topic well enough on their own, and then let the fight ensue.
Yeah, and it's not going to be one of those things where like you can just like back down. Like if you agree to the show, like you got to do it. It can't be like, oh, thick women, and then you don't get the side of the coin toss that you like, and you're like, I don't want to do this. Like no, like fuck you. This is the experiment. Can personal beliefs and emotions be completely left out of politics? And I think it's going to be fun. We're probably going to launch that within the next week or two.
Yeah, I think we'll start recording episodes for that. We'll do 2 or 3 episodes off the bat with just the crew, and maybe we'll find somebody to come on the show.
Yeah.
And then we'll see how the feedback goes. If the feedback goes well, we'll keep doing it.
And if you have ideas for possible topics, or if you're completely opposed to the idea, or if you absolutely love the idea, shoot us a message. That way we can gauge the temperature.
Absolutely. And for those of you who may not know, I have started tweeting because I've given up and abandoned all my principles. They're not great, but they're not super political either, so that's a good thing. But what I'm going to start doing is I'll start tweeting next week's topic about a week in advance, usually on Sunday nights. I'll tweet the next week's topic.
Yeah.
That way everybody knows what's coming, and they have a chance to kind of get an idea of where their view is.
Yeah, and so the idea of this being a second show, because we know that you guys love to hear us fucking rip into each other, but we feel that we would be remiss if we started bringing politics into the show after building an audience, because the spirit of the Smoke Pit is that, it's somewhere you can go, you can hear a little bit of gossip, a little bit of exaggeration, a little bit of truth, and laugh, and we might trick you into learning something.
Yeah. And we come in and we go, "Good news, everyone," and then we just talk shit about each other for 20 minutes.
Yeah, and so that's why we made the decision for this to be a separate podcast. Also, in Smoke Pit news, we just launched a new T-shirt. This one was designed by Mike fucking Sensi. We had mine that said "Correct Yourself," which is a bit of a catchphrase of mine. Then we had one that said "Sickness for the Thickness," which is AJ's catchphrase.
I mean, it's a catchphrase. I have a lot of memorable. I'm like Major Payne. I've got many memorable quotes.
And then so Mike was sober long enough to be like, "Hey, why don't I have a shirt?" And we're like, "All right, we'll come up with one, and we'll put the order in today." And he was like, "Chicken wings and shooting things."
See, my original idea for a shirt for Mike fucking Sensei was we were just gonna put like a corn cob on the back of a shirt.
Yeah.
And it was gonna be like that was it, just a corn cob.
And it polled very well in Indiana, but not so much everywhere else.
Yeah, all the Hoosiers were like, "Oh, stank! That's a cool ass shirt. I want to get one of those." And then everybody else was like, "That's dumb."
Yeah, so we launched the Chicken Wings and Shooting Things T-shirt that is available now on PopSmokeMedia.com. You can stream our podcast from there. You can check out our merchandise, check out our sponsors that help us so much, keep the lights on and all that. It's definitely worth taking a look at, because we got this badass new website, and we'd appreciate it if you check it out. PopSmokeMedia.com.
It's fantastic.
So what else is on your mind, AJ?
Since we're hawking the website, we should also say that our excellent website host and designer has got us set up for blog posts. So those are coming soon. Again, those will be the individual writings of the hosts, and maybe occasionally guests if we.
Yeah, if you fancy yourself a writer, shoot us a message at info@popsmokemedia.com. Put the subject like writing sample. Then give us a little bit of what's on your mind. If there's a topic that you're passionate about, or something you just think the people should hear. Now, be fair warned. If it sucks, I'm probably not going to write back.
No, if it sucks, we're going to write back and tell you that it sucks, because constructive criticism is the only way you get better.
Yeah, because plus
it's funny.
Yeah, I've been doing this for too long to kind of tiptoe around people's feelings. One of the shitty things about being on social media is that everybody can take a shot at you. So any fucking asshole that's ever had a problem with anything I've ever done in my entire fucking life is free to take a shot at me. But if you are good, send us a message.
How will they know they're good if it's their first attempt? I always thought that the spirit of the Smoke Pit is it's a place where everybody can come to avoid having to fill sandbags.
However, though, let's be honest here. If you come into the Smoke Pit and you say some fucking dumb shit, you're going to get roasted by everyone.
No, that's fair. That's fair game. Like we'll give you constructive criticism on your writing, but Dan's been my best friend for going on 16 years now, and I roast him daily.
Oh, he really does.
Like I have to pull Sam aside later today and tell her some good roasts because she's so sweet that it's hard to ever get her to like come up with good clapbacks.
Yeah.
So I've prepared several for her, and I'm going to give those to her later so that she can use them at random.
Yeah, and
because it's time you get your comeuppance.
But then in the same vein, I'm going to have to reach out to any potential love aspect you may have and teach some good roasting things about you, because that's fair in the law of equivalent exchange.
Yeah, but I think she's pretty good at roasting me on her own. I mean, not at the caliber of everybody in this room, but certainly like, you know.
Yeah, it's still, though, it's fair.
And I don't mean that like, I just mean that like.
No, you can't be like, oh, I'm going to teach your girlfriend shit to say, but then you can't teach my lady shit to say. That's not fair.
No, I'm just saying any lady I'm with is going to be able to roast on her own.
Yeah, fair enough.
I mean, I'm not expecting, 16 years worth of knowing each other's dark secrets kind of roast, but
yeah. No, because there's times where I'm sure we both do this, where we're about to say something a little too spicy, and we're like, yeah, we need to calm our tits.
Yeah, there's roasting your friends, and there's ending a relationship. There's times where Dan pissed. I was setting the camera up earlier. Dan said something that fucking pissed me off, and I was sitting there adjusting the camera, and I was like, it's already perfect. I don't need to fuck with it. I'm just like, do I end his life and our relationship, or do I just let this go? Okay,
you were overreacting on that, but we won't get into it.
No, I was 100% overreacting. That's why I took a tactical pause, because there's times where I'm just like, I absorb and contain stress, because Jeff Daniels, was it Jeff? I think it was Jeff Daniels that said it was a movie he was in, and he was trying to like help his partner learn to deal with psychological things.
Yeah,
and he goes, see, what you got to do is you got to take that feeling, you got to push it way down deep in the pit of your stomach, right? And then you can just leave it there until it becomes a dull, persistent ache.
Yes.
Like a man does. Problem is, at this point, I'm more dull, persistent ache than I am person anymore.
That was that movie with him and Ryan Reynolds, right?
R.I.P.D.
Yeah, R.I.P.D.
Trash movie on its face,
yes,
but a lot of funny moments.
Yeah, there were a couple good one-liners.
Yeah, that's like the movie, what is it, Lockout.
Yeah.
I love the movie Lockout. It's absolute garbage, but it's just Guy Pearce running around for an hour and a half giving one-liners, and it's fantastic. Here's a gun and an apple. Don't talk to strangers, and get out of here.
And yeah, so check that out on YouTube. We like to watch compilations of thank you very much. Nope, that hair stays there. That's attached to my face.
It's curled up like an old-timey beard. Oh, speaking of YouTube, real quick.
Yeah.
For those of you complaining about the fact that I said we're going to put video up and we've not put video up yet, I've spent hours on this fucking thing. We have the videos from Pale Horse. We will have the video for today.
Yeah.
I'm working on the editing programs because for some reason we have the audio and the video, and when we try to link them up, the video's frame rate drops so low that it looks like everybody is moving through water, and it looks like ass. And I'm not going to put out an inferior product.
Well,
we might have 3 YouTube videos of like 3 episodes all drop on the same day, but after that, I will have figured it out, and we'll all be on the same page.
Right on then. Maybe we should reach out to EP Mike and see what his secret was.
His secret was hitting the delete button out of 1 out of 3 episodes. The secret for me is I'm being cheap.
Yeah.
Like I got like this super high speed program, and it's kind of like it was free, but it's overcomplicated. So I think I just need to bite the bullet and pay money for something.
Speaking of YouTube, I was fortunate enough to sit down with Austin Alexander. He is a master at arms in the Navy who has over 357,000 YouTube subscribers.
For what? For shooting guns or for fitness? Because it's got to be one of the two.
For fitness.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is he fit?
Oh, he's incredibly fit.
Does he make other people fit?
Yes.
Well, then let's hear what you got.
So if you pull up the article on that I wrote for American Grit, the first picture is...
That was the laziest wah I've heard on this show so far. Come on, man. Pump yourself up. Wah.
Well, see, you're not the one who has to edit the audio, and like 9 out of 10 audio spikes are you. So please, let's go ahead and keep that down a little bit.
I'll not apologize for art.
And the first picture that's on there, he's actually supervising some other YouTube personalities doing the obstacle course, and one of them is James Charles. If you know who that is, then you know why that's hilarious. If you don't, Google it. I'm not going to explain it.
Oh, shit. Was this the guy from Challenge Accepted?
No, it was not.
Okay.
No, that's a completely different YouTube person.
Oh, well, I didn't know. I just saw a Navy guy was in there. Like then the Navy guy and the Marine watching the YouTube personalities go through the O course.
No, I think it was someone else. But beyond that, he also has like a 3-time Miss Olympia on there doing like a Navy PT test. He has a bunch of different celebrities and personalities going on there. So go on there and give that a look. Go to his YouTube channel, check him out. He's on his way of getting out of the Navy, and he's built this huge YouTube following, which is awesome for the veteran community.
Yeah, if you're getting out of the military, and we've said this before, have a plan.
Yeah.
This guy not only has a plan, but he's already there.
And yeah, when I did the interview with him, he was saying that there's going to be a lot of people out there that try to dash your dreams, and it's kind of difficult to say that at the current moment, because a few months ago, I was all like, yeah, man, like, don't let your dreams just be dreams. Just do it, and channeling my inner Shia LaBeouf.
Go on.
You done?
Not nearly. Since you bring it up, like Shia LaBeouf, I have 3 different opinions about this guy.
Yes.
Right? Like his acting is with the exception of areas in which they put him in the position of being the stumbling nerdy guy, which is who he is as a person, as far as I'm aware.
I thought he was really good in Fury.
He's all right.
I thought he was really good.
How are you supposed to be anything good when you got Brad Pitt sitting there just fucking being delicious in Europe? Right? You got Brad Pitt with that haircut. I had that haircut for a while, specifically because of that movie, because it looked boss.
Yeah, it did.
Right. But then he did all that political shit and got weird. Right? And that's the part that you kind of lose me. Like, I get that you're trying to use your pulpit, but again, not everybody has something important to say.
So, back to what I was saying before you started to go on your criticism of Shia LaBeouf's political stance.
I'm not. I'm just, that was all I had to say about the political thing. I just wanted to bring up, if you haven't seen the Shia LaBeouf, the video, right, with the orchestra and the guy doing the Orson Welles impression and the dancers with the Shia LaBeouf paper mache heads, go on YouTube and watch it, and then you will thank me.
Yeah, we've actually talked about that on the show before.
If you have not, actual cannibal Shia, if you haven't watched it, you're wasting your day.
Yeah, it's hilarious. But so if because I know I have said it on the show before, like, you had to have a plan, and like, what's your worst case scenario, right? Like, I've talked about on the show, like, you come out and you want to be with a piece of technology, but then like VCRs went the way of the past when DVDs came out. Like, you come into this piece of technology, and then it becomes obsolete. Like, what the fuck are you going to do now? Like, I have said that before, so I don't feel terribly bad. But the idea is, like, if you are getting out, put that additional layer of planning into your exit strategy. Like, hey, what if option A doesn't work out? What am I going to do?
What if Vine dies and then you don't have Vine anymore?
Yeah.
Right? And then all the people who are super famous on Vine, you can watch their compilation videos on YouTube, but they had to either adapt or fucking go back to regular jobs.
Yeah, and like, I think Sam goes to school with a guy that she was saying that he had a huge Vine following, and then when that app got deleted, like, I think he's just a grad student now.
It's a regular dude,
yeah.
But he had a plan, right? Grad school, or for whatever it was he was studying, and then he was like, "Let me do this Vine shit on the side because I think I'm funny, or at least I can be funny."
Yeah.
And then, but his main plan he kept with school, right? He wasn't just like, fuck it, I'm gonna be a YouTuber, like. Be a YouTuber if that's what makes your makes your corn crackle, right? But have something else, have a different plan.
Yeah, and I've said this before. You don't become the richest farmer in Afghanistan by having the biggest farm. You do it by having the most farms. And besides the social media, like, I've been doing writing, I've been doing social media advising, I've been doing a bunch of different stuff, because, like, the idea is that if I lose one source of income, my goose isn't cooked. And y'all know how I feel about geese.
Right. When you're looking, I've been getting followed by geese. There's a pair, and I see them everywhere. My daughter and I have been out driving before during this Corona crap, and I've just seen this, just 2 geese. They're hanging by the side of the road, and I come by, and they're shaking their wings at me. And I'm like, don't bring your blood feud into my life there, Chief.
Yeah.
But no, you're I'm sorry, guys. wholly subsided by the geese. I forgot what the hell we were talking about.
Well, I was basically just saying that, despite things on social media going pretty well, like I'm also putting in, secondary and tertiary plans.
Right. And this is a thing with, there's a government contractor that said the same thing. He said, look, I can go for the big government contract that pays me X million dollars. That's great. But I'd rather have a large number of smaller contracts because, just like the Afghan farmer, if I lose one big contract, I'm fucked. That's all I had.
Yeah.
But if I have several really good small contracts and I lose one for whatever reason, I'm okay. I just pick another contract to bid on. We can't all bid on government contracts, but find several things, right? Everybody's good at least one thing. I had this one Marine that was a complete waste of humanity for most things. And I always stuck with the idea. I said, you know what? When I'm a squad leader, I'm going to remember that every Marine is good at least one thing. He was fucking amazing at ground fighting.
Yeah.
You wouldn't think it. He was like Slowpoke Rodriguez, right? Like Speedy Gonzalez's cousin that was always as slow as hell. But he was stupid good at ground fighting. And I was like, all right, I found his thing. So find your thing and then find a backup.
Yeah, thankfully, we most of us who've gotten out have the GI Bill, so that's something that we can fall on. I've taken some classes with my GI Bill, and I think that I might go back into it because why not make the extra money?
I mean, yeah, if you got the GI Bill to use or not use, why not use it? The least you can do. Take online classes. They'll give you some money for BAH. It'll help you with paying for rent while you're coming up with your main job or coming up with your side hustle, right? The worst you can do is get some classes and not continue your education in that direction because you found something better.
And now that is not to be confused with the free classes that Harvard was giving out online.
That's true. When the pandemic started, Harvard said, we're going to let everybody audit a large number of classes for free.
Yes.
So just so everybody's aware, the difference between auditing a class and taking a class is auditing, you get the materials and you get to sit in the class, but you don't get credit for it at the end.
And even if you do pay the X amount of money, I think it was somewhere between $75 to $150, depending on the class, to get the certificate that says you completed it, that's only for you to put that in your resume or to show it to a prospective employer or your current employer if you're trying to advance your position or seek another position. It's not college credits towards a degree.
Well, I mean, I guess that depends on the class.
Most of them.
I agree with
check
you.
the fine print in all things.
No, that's what I'm saying. I'm not saying none of them are worth any college credit, but I'd say you have to definitely look into
the free
it.
ones.
Well, and like you said, you have to pay for
the certificate.
You have to pay for the certificate at the end, and when you audit the class, you're just sitting in on the lectures and getting the materials. When you actually take the class officially, when you pay the however much money it is to get the certificate program, you're tested. You have to do homework, you have to do assignments, and you're tested at the end.
Yeah.
So you don't just get to ride through it and get a piece of paper that says Harvard on your wall.
So don't sign up for a free class that you're not even paying for the certificate and then expect the GI Bill to give you a housing allowance and a book stipend.
Right. Like if you're going to take there's a justice class that's super popular, and I think it's like $100 for the certificate track. It'd be cool to do it, and then you have that certificate from Harvard on your wall, so whenever your dad tells you, you're not going to make it as a Broadway dancer, and you tell him you have the music in you, and he's like, get a fucking job, Kyle. You could be like, well, I have a certificate from Harvard, so eat me.
Yeah, and so just to kind of give you an example out there, like you have to be constantly bettering yourself to stay competitive in this environment, right? Just like if you ever watch the documentary Hot Girls Wanted on Netflix, the guy who runs, I think it was Hussy Models, he was like, a new girl turns 18 every day. And much with this, there's a new veteran with your MOS or rating getting out of the military every day. So it's like you have to stay competitive and you have to do things. And so just to kind of give you an example, they offered these courses at Harvard, and like an exorbitant amount of people signed up for them.
Good use of vocabulary there. I love it.
Nice.
Yeah, a lot of people signed up for that stuff, and it's great that people want to better themselves, but if you're just signing up for the sake of signing up and not getting anything out of it, you're wasting your time.
Yeah, like for example, they had a class called Shakespeare's Othello. Yes. So say you were a Shakespeare enthusiast, or perhaps you wanted to be an actor or a screenplay writer or whatever the case is, and you really wanted to get inside the head of a very
complex and nuanced character.
Yeah, or beyond that, like just a very popular piece of work. There are when I wrote this article back like a month or so ago, 23,773 people were already enrolled for a 4-week class. Now, say we go into something that's a little bit more contemporary, entrepreneurship and emerging economies has 400,000 people already enrolled.
I mean, you got to better yourself somehow.
So that's 400,000 people are going to be subject matter experts. Well, let's say 80% finish the class, right? And say there's a 20% out washout rate. That's
sure. Or just don't complete.
Yeah, we'll say just for generosity's sake, 70%. Like for higher education, those numbers would be staggering if all classes were having 30% dropout rates. Like, it'd be insane. But anyways, so you have 300,000 people are going to have 6 weeks worth of Harvard level education on entrepreneurship and emerging economies. And that's just one college. That's not to mention all the other Ivy Leagues and all the other prestigious ones that aren't our Ivy League. Because the difference between Ivy and like semi-Ivy is like private, public, stuff like that. So you have colleges that are just as good, have just as low as accepted rates or like minimum scores required to get in, but they're public, so they're not private. And that's kind of the difference if you didn't know what Ivy school is. But now you're going to have hundreds of thousands of people just from this one school are going to be better at being an entrepreneur in the current economy than they were 6 weeks ago. These are the people you're competing with.
Yeah, even if you stay in the same business, like in the same general field, like you get out of the military. I went to work with the State Department I'm still working for them just in a different area, but I worked with them overseas for several years after I got out of the Marine Corps. You show up and you get the job based on your current creds. Right? Like you show up, you give them your DD-214, you show them all your certs from all your different courses, and you get accepted into the program. That's not enough. You want to be a window licker and just ride in convoys all the time, you still have to have continuing education. Mm-hmm. The moment you start slipping, some other veteran that just got out who has the same creds you have, maybe not as much combat experience, but maybe like 4 extra schools, right, is going to come in and be like, I'm younger, I have less injuries, I have more schools, and I'm willing to work for 10% less.
Yeah, so a lot of these courses are kind of equivalent. They're akin to like JKO or Marine Net or MCI if you're a bit older, where they're really just kind of like a certificate that says, all right, now you know more about this. Right.
But yeah, so the side hustles, right? Even if your side hustle is going to Harvard or going to whatever school you can, have a side hustle and go with it, right?
And so this is kind of like a perfect example of how, if a few people were screwing the pooch on that, then everybody got punished,
Speaking of mass punishment.
Yeah.
I like the idea, and Dan had mentioned this earlier, and I wanted to bring it back up in case he had forgotten. One of the benefits to this COVID-19 situation, there's not a lot of benefit to it for a lot of people, and I understand it's a serious thing, but one of the benefits now is that the civilian population is finally starting to learn what it's like to experience mass punishment, right? Everybody was told, hey, stay at home if you can, right? Don't conglomerate in public areas. And we live in Virginia, so we have Governor Ralph Northam, and I'm not going to get into it, but he is the only governor that is in fact a doctor. And he said, look, I'd like everybody to stay at home, kind of let this thing flatten the curve, all this stuff. And like the next week, like Virginia Beach was packed.
Yeah.
And he was like, motherfuckers, what did I just say? And that's when he locked his shit down. He's like, nah, that done. Although I don't know how effective that was. When we went to go do Pale Horse, we stopped off at Virginia Beach. The place was packed anyway.
Well, the thing with that is that you were allowed to go there for exercise. You weren't allowed to go there just to chill or to drink or to like party. And you had to be in groups smaller than 5, and you had to keep 6 feet apart and stuff like that. But like the typical freedoms and liberties that we have come so accustomed to being able to enjoy have been taken. And the idea that we as Americans should be responsible enough to be able to be in charge of our own health and safety, take precautionary measures, wear face masks, carry hand sanitizer, use napkins when you open public surfaces or pump your gas, wash your hands, all those things.
Enter the right fucking direction when your local store or Walmart has the stickers on the ground that say only go down the corridor this way.
Yeah, because I I yelled at a guy at Publix the other day for that. I had a fucking stiff arm a guy in the post office. I went in the post office to check the mailbox. We got some great stuff, and as I'm coming out, like this guy is walking towards me, and he's just like, instead of waiting for me to come out of the corridor and come in, like he's walking right up to me, and so I hit him with the old fucking stiff arm. I was like, yo, get the fuck away from me.
Yeah, how about stay 6 feet away? As a matter of fact,
Yeah.
Whenever COVID, hopefully the sooner the better. The moment COVID is eradicated or at least put down to a normal level where nobody's dying from it anymore, I believe we should maintain the social distancing practice of people staying 6 foot the fuck away from me. In lines, at like I went to a sports and hunting store. I won't mention which one because we apparently get yelled at for that. But
You don't have to say that every time you don't mention something.
I'm gonna say it so it's on the record, sir.
It's been on the record like 10 times. Asked and answered, counselor. Move on.
You know the highest form of flattery is imitation.
Oh my God. Yeah, because you were imitating the person who said that.
Yes, all lawyers all the time. Anyway, so I'm standing there and they have a separate trailer outside where they have their ammo storage. So if you're just going to buy bullets, you just go to that spot. It looks like a food truck, and you just go up and be like, I'll have 16 of these bullets, please. And they go, Roger this, and they hand you your box, you pay, and you leave. Man, everybody was nut to butt in that fucking line. And I was like, what is wrong with you people? Like, they're wearing face masks. These aren't Hills Have Eyes motherfuckers who haven't seen the news, right? At least they're watching Fox. So they know what's going on. Like the people at Fox News are like, hey, put a face mask on and don't cough on people and stay 6 feet away. Like, how hard is that? And they're like, you know what would be really good is if I could smell the cologne of the person to my front.
So, point being, though, is after I stiffed armed this guy, I had to use way too much fucking hand sanitizer to fucking decon myself. But, like, I was coming out of a corridor. Like, he could have just let me walk out and then walked in. But no, whatever the fuck he was doing was more important than just being a decent fucking human being. So all I'm saying, and I don't want to get too preachy, is just try to be considerate of the people around you. Because I can't tell you how many fucking mutants I've had to, like, completely get the fuck out of the way for because they're just like, oh, well, you know, like, I'm 400 fucking pounds. I'm not going to live, past 2 years anyway, so I don't care if somebody coughs in my eyeball.
I got to say, I don't care about any of that. Just stay 6 feet the fuck away from people. Like... No, I 100% agree with you. Like, why, how is this a hard concept?
Yeah.
Like, if you can't judge 6 feet, that's fine. Stay the fuck away from other people.
1 fathom for our Navy listeners.
Do you know, the other day I was having a very long conversation with my mother because she talks about as much as I do.
Yeah.
Which, as you can imagine, is a very long phone call. It's nice. I love my mom. She's great. But she said something about a buttload, and she made an offhand comment of however much that is. And then it reminded me that's an actual unit of measurement.
Yes. It
is something to the equivalent of 384 gallons.
That makes sense.
Yeah, because a butt was an English cart.
Yeah, so if you if you're not sure of what 6 feet is, maybe you use the metric system. It's about the distance of one Stone Cold Steve Austin. Now, yes, granted, before you jump down my throat, I know he's like billed as 6'1", on the back of the action figure, but just imagine if you have Stone Cold Steve Austin laying down. One person is standing at his head, one person is standing at his boots. Of course, which, he will use to stomp a mud hole in you if you break that 6 feet barrier.
See, with the boots, he'd be 6'1", but age comes for us all.
Yeah, he definitely lost a lot of cartilage in his knees. That's why at like 32, he was wearing both knee braces.
Bro, same.
Well, I think that about does it for us today. Have we missed anything?
I would like to just throw in, for those of you who are listening, and my voice sounds like a crackling campfire, I lost it 2 weeks ago, and I've been working on getting it back. Luckily, last week's episode was a continuation from our Pale Horse.
Yep.
So I am not trying to do a bad impression of a drill instructor. This is just my voice for the next couple of days.
So it's mainly because he hasn't used enough Strikeforce Energy, which can heal sore throats, it cures coronavirus.
Allegedly.
I'm kidding.
Legal has told us we need to say allegedly. We would make ridiculous Dr. Oz claims.
Well, I think the FDA indicator on the back of their products saying that this has not been evaluated to treat, cure, or enhance any condition. So I could say whatever I want. I mean, if we're gonna go after Shia LaBeouf and Dan Blazarian, like,
I'm going after Shia LaBeouf.
After MSN, after Fox. Like, I mean, what other people who are way richer than us are we going to go after?
First of all, I didn't say anything negative about Fox.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't. I said they were informing the public about COVID-19 CDC regulations.
Even these hillbillies who are watching Fox.
I didn't say hillbillies.
You said it with your eyes.
Maybe
They were there
did.
buying ammo.
I'm saying that demographically speaking, people who live in rural areas are typical to watch Fox News. I didn't say that was a negative thing or a positive thing.
Use our discount code SmokePit.
I simply said that's what it was. I will 100% attack MSNBC because they're fucking boring. Boring.
But, okay, so what's the difference between MSNBC and, like, NPR then?
It really depends on what on NPR you're listening to.
Because I was listening to the show, This is How It's Made, or This is How I Made It. I think it was the name of that show.
How It's Made?
Yeah, How It's Made. And they had the Navy SEAL who invented the TRX on there. That was a pretty good episode.
Yeah. How It's Made is a good show. We used to watch that overseas because we had the AFN 8-hour cycle.
Yes.
So they show the same programming for 3 8-hour blocks. So you'd come on shift and be watching an episode of like, what is it, Australian Customs or whatever, the reality show. And then like by the time you're getting off shift, you're watching it again, which was super awesome. We had an Australian guy. He lives in Florida now with his family, but we had an Australian guy.
Oh, of course he does. As my girlfriend said, Australia is the rest of the world's Florida.
That's it. So his name is Rowan. I won't say his last name. Rowan is a fucking beast. I love that guy. But we used to watch that show, and after a couple episodes, like he'd just be in the room. And after a couple episodes, I went, Rowan, I think I figured out your culture. And he goes, what's that? I said, I don't think there's as much bad shit in Australia as you guys make it out to seem.
Yeah.
I think your country's just gorgeous, and you like keeping out weirdos. And people are like, I don't want to go there and die by getting bit by a fucking drop bear or a spider the size of my house or like a gator with wings is going to fly in and like drop fucking kimono dragons out of its mouth. They're going to attack me with laser beams. And
believe it or not, Strikeforce actually has a division in Australia. So imagine if the drop bears were getting Strikeforce Energy.
If the drop bears get Strikeforce Energy, we're all boned.
That's how the wildfires started.
That's exactly that and the emus.
Yeah, I'm not saying that Australian Strikeforce causes you to be a pyromaniac, but I'm also not saying that the emus are innocent in everything that happened.
No, the emu is getting... Look, if you're in Australia,
Yes.
and you're drinking Australian Strikeforce Energy,
Yes.
do not leave the packets laying around. Keep control of your Strikeforce.
Kookaburras have a taste for them.
If the emus get it, you're all fucked.
I mean, they've already won a war against Australia.
I mean, seriously.
They're hyped up on these B vitamins.
They just take that lemon Strikeforce and they
Put it right in their butthole.
right in their butthole. They're not taking it sublingually, folks. They're taking it as a suppository.
All right.
And it puts
SmokePitEnergy.com.
it puts the fire in their eyes and the rage in their hearts.
Bye.
Bye.
If you have a batshit crazy story that you want us to read on the show, shoot us an email at info@popsmokemedia.com. Also, check out our social media. You can shoot us DMs there. Stay up to date on all the latest Smoke Pit news. Also, check out our merchandise at popsmokemedia.com. Give this podcast 5 stars. We'd appreciate it. And share it with your friends.